So I thought I'd put this together really quick. It's somewhat selfish. I came here from California, so we bought a house, and we wanted to remodel some things of it. So I thought, gee, I'm in VR. Let's take that to the next level. So with this here, on the left is the VR. On the right is where we're at now. Fireplace still isn't in place. But I found some interesting things out as we were doing this. One, this is the hardware and software that I worked with. Some of you had an opportunity to see me in the back. I have been working with the structure sensor for some time. And then I'll play this little video. So this is the video from Occipital, and essentially they've taken their structure sensor, which is a very miniaturized Kinect type device, and wrapped it into a program called Canvas. The cool thing about this, and I thought at the time that they put it out, I'm not going to have a use for it, is that they can scan an area, as you can see there, you send it to them, and then they send you back a CAD file or a Sketchup file. Then you can take that information and do whatever you want with it. And I'll show you what I've been using it for. So it provides three formats, as I mentioned: Sketchup, a DWG, as well as a collada file, so you have the mesh file again with the textures. So I'll just jump ahead. So as I mentioned, I was using SketchUp. So those of you who have used SketchUp before, essentially this is what they provided me back, which was just like a container, really no textures or anything, and then I created this from that. Essentially a representation of what we're hoping our new remodel would be. And the main thing in this is the fireplace, as you can see there. We wanted to go with a dual-sided fireplace because there's a single column. And one of the things, and this is why I had actually talked about this saving me a lot of money in about 10 minutes, the column itself was larger than the fireplace. They weren't aware of that at the time that they were putting it in. So we were able to think ahead instead of having to wait at the moment and say, oh gosh, it won't fit. So that was an advantage there. The other thing is, as you notice, some of these images here have different colored walls. So I'm able to, let's go to this one here. We're actually going to go with a pale green now. So we're able to actually visualize this, and then in the next steps, by using Blender, because SketchUp, the free version, doesn't have the ability to bring it into Unreal, so I'm able to use Blender to export it from the collada file into an FBX, which is what Unreal likes, and also use a program called 3D Code in order to embellish or make the textures more realistic. And there's the two applications. And then using the Unreal Engine, import the information. And I found out some interesting things. If you take a SketchUp or a large room or something of that nature and try to dump it directly into it, the first thing that's going to happen is you can get extremely bad light paths. And the reason for that is that they have what they call overlapping UVs. If you're not familiar with that, essentially things overlap and Unreal doesn't know how to handle that. So there's a couple of ways to fix that error. You can bump up the light map resolution, or you can go back and make individual objects, which is, I did a combination of the two. So here's where we're actually working with bringing in textures. And if you're familiar with Unreal, it has some cool features that allows you to create visual indications of how your shaders come together. You can use all kinds of features. I think there are like 1,000 of them, so you could probably spend an entire year just learning how to make their shaders. And the shaders are very important because that's what gives you the realism. Now this is me, and this is a little video of me walking around in the VR world. Actually, I'm teleporting inside of it. Can you see this? I apologize for putting that way down here. So now I'm inside the same house. It's kind of weird when you're like in a room outside of your house and you go out to that area and experience that, oh wait, that's the same area that I was just in VR with. So one of the things is with Unreal, they make it very easy to create virtual reality. They have an example that makes it very easy to bring content to it, also give you hands. And I was able to visually use those hands to determine that, geez, that fireplace is not going to work right. If I ignore that, does it? No. All right, that's it. Well, that was pretty good. So essentially, taking the sensor that I worked, I was able to create a CAD drawing, take that CAD drawing and bring it to Unreal, walk around in it to visualize the space. Much better than going out there with paint and saying, oh, I really didn't like that paint, without having to create fuss and fuss.
A couple of quick questions.
Sure.
Is that actually a reasonable workflow, or do you just refuse to be beaten by technology?
Actually, it was, because if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have known that the fireplace would not have fit in that column. They would have had to bring it in there and then realize at that point. Now, obviously, maybe some contractors would have thought ahead of time, but this is not one of those. And at this particular point, that particular contractor said, oh, yeah, that's an interesting point. So we're able to figure that out. The other thing is, Unreal makes a very good, takes a very good job of making color light and sampling light properly, so you can put different colors up and get a very good representation of what those colors are. And they have ways of bringing in accurate lamps or bulbs from different industries as well. Did that answer the question? So yes, I think it was worth it.
Last question.
Where can we see more of you talk about VR stuff?
Oh, I do a podcast called Allthings3D, and I'm actually doing a more elaborate setup of how the tool, I'm using these particular tools. Last couple of weeks I talked about using the canvas and how I approached it, and then each of these applications. Now I'm going to be working on shaders in the upcoming week on Friday. So 3D review every morning at 10 a.m. We start on time. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Michael.